Hi, this is Kevin from the Climb Flow podcast, and today you will be listening to the second part of the interview I had with Robbie Phillips. Let you listen to it and hope you enjoy it. I think a video that you could do as well is how to warm up when there is no warm up.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is. I mean, well, with like little fingerboards we've got nowadays, like everyone's kind of got their own portable little fingerboards.
Yeah, yeah,
I think one of the great ones is using like a sling with your foot on a little one-handed fingerboard.
yeah,
Is fantastic.
yeah,
Um, you know, I think even just being creative with like the space you've got around you, like if you're at a crag and there's some holes in the wall, just like literally hanging off holes.
yeah,
It's actually not that hard, but it does take a bit of time to learn exactly how to do it properly for the activity you're about to do.
yeah,
Definitely harder to do for getting on a hard sport or a trad route
yeah,
than than on a boulder problem.
yeah,
Because at least on a boulder problem you end up just pulling moves and kind of warming up into the boulder problem.
yeah,
Um, but I think it's with pump, you don't want to get flash pump, so that is a bit trickier. So maybe you have to do more moves along the bottom to actually replicate getting pumped a little bit.
yeah, 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 yeah. So how did you warm up for Le Voyage?
Le Voyage,
Yeah,
Le Voyage, the E sort of what's his name, James Pearson's E9 E10 thing in France.
yeah.
How did I warm up for that? I'm trying to remember actually. Oh, actually, to be honest, Le Voyage was kind of an easy one to warm up on. I had a wee fingerboard at the base that I would do some exercise on to get recruited.
Yeah.
But actually, the climb again, some climbs kind of build in intensity, and
Yeah,
with those climbs, they're much easier to kind of climb with a relatively simple warm up. With Le Voyage, you had like a 7-8 crack that got you up the first 10 meters into like a little cave that you could kind of just like chill out and just rest. So after the 7-8 crack, you got kind of a little bit pumped. So that was kind of perfect. And you rested and got back to zero again. And then you kind of traverse out left, climb a sort of V5 boulder problem, get to like another little rest, and then you'd have the crux.
yeah,
So it kind of built up nicely
yeah.
uh, into it. So I think I'd have a much harder time if warming up for something that was really hard straight off the ground
Yeah,
into like a long pumpy section
yeah,
with maybe no rest.
yeah,
That's much harder to warm up on.
yeah,
Um, uh, yeah, for sure.
yeah. You so how was the route? How was Le Voyage?
Um, for Le Voyage, for me, wasn't actually that bad in the end.
Okay,
I did it I think I did it in like 2 or 3 days.
okay.
Um, it was actually that trip that I told you about earlier, where I said I had a really good sport climbing trip.
Yeah,
I kind of went out with the intention of just kind of like getting fit and trying some hard routes. And the idea was Le Voyage would be like on my way home. I
yeah,
thought, it'd be really nice if I could just be as fit as possible sport climbing to then try Le Voyage.
yeah,
And again, I didn't necessarily, I mean, at the time, Le Voyage was given E10, and I was like, right, we'll expect E10.
yeah,
E10's a hard grade, and I'd only done one before.
yeah,
So I was like, right, expect that level of climbing. And when I arrived there, it was probably more E9. It was like 8B. It wasn't harder than 8B, and of course, coming off the back of that sport climbing trip, I'd climbed multiple 8Cs and 8C plus. So I was in a again head pointing. I just got there, put a static rope down it, figured it all out on a static rope,
yeah,
just on my own, and then got a belay. I fell off once in the crux. My foot popped off, and
yeah.
then I came down. I kind of had a word with myself, and then got back on it and did it. I think maybe I did it the next game day. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it didn't end up being too bad.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you made a video about that too, I think, somewhere.
Yeah,
It might be something that you tagged on to the end of the sport climbing trip to, I'm guessing it was Spain. Was it
yeah,
Spain?
that's right. Yeah, Spain. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a two-parter. It was
right.
I did the first part was Spain, and then the second part was France. And at the end, the France, the Le Voyage bit, was me doing it, but it was actually also about my friend Seb flashing it.
Yeah.
And I was in Anot, which is where Le Voyage is, and the first day I just realized, I was like, God, Seb would flash this. Like
Yeah.
I was pretty sure of it. And Seb's like an amazing climber. He just did the Dawn Wall, he's like absolutely incredible climber.
Okay.
And I just phoned him up, and I knew that he was like 3 or 4 hours away, and I was like, if you want to just come down here,
Yeah.
I can give you all the beta and you can flash this. And he was like, okay. So yeah, he came down and just smashed it out, and I filmed him on it, so that was cool.
Cool. So in that video, there's something you said. You mentioned when climbing some of these hard routes, you sometimes need a bit of luck.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do you mean by luck?
Well, it's like whenever you're trying anything that's hard, um, not even at your max, but something that requires you to climb well,
Yeah.
you can't hold back. You can't you can't over grip. You can't not trust your feet. You have to like give yourself. I would say give yourself to the climb.
Yeah.
Commit everything to the climb.
Yeah.
Trust the feet as if they're all jug footholds.
Yeah.
Just give yourself to the climb, and inevitably at some point, you're gonna make a mistake. You're
Yeah.
gonna put a foot on a foothold. It won't quite be sitting perfectly. Maybe instead of putting 80% of the weight through your foot, you're putting 75% or 70%. You know, maybe there's a bit of moisture on like a foothold or something, and you go for the move and your foot slips, and
Yeah.
that's it. Game over, done. Yeah. So that's what I mean by luck, um, in order to perform, you need to commit, and there's always going to be an element of luck in that game, with regardless of whether it's red putting a route or on sighting. Also, I guess like just general conditions. I mean, you go on these trips, you commit a bunch of time to it, and perhaps conditions don't align. Again, I always come back to that thing we said at the start, which is try your hardest.
Yeah.
If you try your hardest, you can't be disappointed. There will be there will be other factors out with your control,
Yeah.
and and you just got to accept that, and,
Yeah.
and do your best. I yeah, I mean, always remember Adam Ondra, saying that hard on sighting, was part skill and experience and part luck. And again, my mate Tom Bolger, he's like a 9B sport climber, British, based out in Catalonia. When he used to live in Scotland actually, and I always remember him telling me about on-site climbing. He said on-site climbing is largely like luck. A good tactic to have for it is when you read the sequence, just commit to the sequence that you see ahead of you. Like if you read it, do it the way that you read it. Don't think about anything else. If
Yeah.
don't try and like figure something else on the fly.
Yeah.
Just flip and commit to it. And that again is partly luck. It's like you might read it right, you might read
Yeah.
it a little bit wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you read it a little bit wrong, actually, there's probably more chance of you getting through it, just committing through it, and maybe just muscling through it a little bit
Yeah.
than trying to like change on the fly.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, luck always comes into it in numerous ways, and we all have days where luck's on our side, and we all have days where luck's not on our side,
Yeah.
and yeah, again, saying that, sometimes I think we can make our own luck, and I'm going to reflect on another experience I had back in the day, 2015. I was in the Alps, and I'd attempted this hard route on the north face of the Eiger called Paciencia. It
Yeah.
was a route put up by the late great Uli Steck, and me and my friend Willis, we'd had one attempt at it, and whilst we were on the wall, big storm rolled in, and we just got absolutely soaked, and we had to abseil off and run away with our tails between our legs.
Yeah.
So we waited, I ended up waiting. He ended up going home, and I ended up waiting and waiting for a weather window, and a weather window opened in 3 weeks' time, and I called up Willis and I said I saw this weather window, and he came out and joined me again. We attempted the route a second time and we completed it.
Yeah.
And I wrote on my like social media something along the lines of, we were lucky that like the weather window opened and we were able to do the route. And Dave McLeod commented on it and said, you know, it wasn't luck. You made your own luck in that situation because you were there waiting for it when the conditions arrived and you acted on it.
Yeah.
And so that's once again it's another example of there is luck, but there's also being ready for when the time is right and acting on it and making the most of it.
Yeah. Or maybe dealing with something that isn't perfect. I think so. I've had a chat with a few people. I think Emma said that that there was a route she did. Can't remember the name of the route, but it was a LPT, and conditions weren't perfect. Um, and she managed to climb it on a day when conditions weren't perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
yeah. No,
guess
I said
the
sorry.
ability to I guess climb through some of that stuff, and I guess in some respects you need luck, but I think in some respects you also need, like Dave said, you make your own luck, but it's also how do you deal with it in the moment?
How do you deal with
Like something imperfect, right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, if something isn't perfect, use that to your advantage. Takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like no one's expecting you to like perform at your absolute best on a day that's not ideal. So relax, This is just a
yeah,
practice run.
yeah, yeah.
Like I read a post of Steve McClure's the other day there, and he was talking about doing a hard route at Cheadale, I think it was, and I think it took him quite a number of days more than he expected because conditions weren't perfect. And then on the day that he did it, the conditions were absolutely perfect, and he was chuffed to bits. And I commented that, you know, I don't know, I've found that sometimes I've been able to do really hard routes where conditions haven't been perfect, and I've really surprised myself
Yeah.
because even on the days that they were perfect, I hadn't given up the wall. I'd arrived on a day that it was poor, high humidity or whatever, and then I'd somehow managed to scrape my way to the top. He kind of rebutted with that, saying that in certain styles of climbing, especially when it's at your absolute limit, you can't really do that. I guess like I don't know. I'm a bit like on the fence with that. I do see his point. Physically and when everything's like when you've physically trained to your absolute max, you're at your peak level, and you're trying something that's at your absolute max. But I often think in climbing, it's such a varied sport. There's so many sort of like I don't know, even hard sport climbing, hard bouldering, there's like subtleties to climbing movement and rock, and that sometimes I think like we can surprise ourselves, and
Yeah,
something that actually feels that is at our max ends up not actually being our max.
yeah,
It's not like we're lifting a weight off the ground. That's like that is a really heavy weight,
yeah.
and I need to be like this strong to do it. Um, you know,
Yeah,
so
I guess I guess there's two ways of thinking, isn't there? I think that one way would be if you were like if you were giving 100% to every move to a route or boulder problem, and every move had to be 100% perfect, I guess one would need perfect conditions. But as we are human beings, I think perfection doesn't exist. And I think it's then uh, the mental side that comes into play that can push us further to what we think we can do.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I think. to have the mental strength to deal with those situations, I think you can get further.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I guess there's levels of like I guess conditions, you know. I mean, it's not like 100% humidity is probably going to be pretty hard to climb anything in,
Yeah,
but you know, maybe we don't need absolutely perfect conditions. I've had friends who've been like, I won't go to the crag unless it's like 40%, you know, humidity or something
yeah,
like that. And I'm like, I mean, you know, it might be all right, you know. You know, maybe it's not the day to like send, but it's maybe the day to work some moves,
yeah,
or maybe it is the day to send. Maybe you'll arrive there, you'll warm up, and you'll be like, well, actually, I'm feeling all right, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Maybe just I don't know. Yeah, it's not always concrete how things are going to feel.
yeah, yeah. Just go climbing.
Yeah, exactly. Climbing's good fun, isn't it?
Yeah. So how was your trip to Norway recently?
Yeah, it was excellent. It was very, yeah, the trip ended up being kind of different to how I expected it would go. But it was definitely a trip where I don't think I've ever been anywhere as beautiful, as jaw-droppingly gorgeous as Norway, as Lofoten Islands we visited. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. I mean, I love Scotland, and I have said for quite some time that I think Scotland's the most remarkable country on the planet. I feel really lucky to live here. There's just so much for me to do here,
Yeah,
and I really love the landscape. And I think that's what really attracts me to Scottish climbing is it kind of feels very mystical and sort of like I don't know. Sometimes it feels like I'm living in a fantasy. I went to Norway and I was like, Jesus, this place is that, but on like an even bigger scale.
yeah,
And you can totally see like how it was all connected at one point. I often think the northwest of Scotland looks like Norway, and I'm there going, yeah, this kind of looks like a grander version of the northwest of Scotland.
yeah,
And then we ended up doing a new route on this island called Veyroy that was nice, like Louisiana nice. And we were climbing. I was like, man, this feels like I'm in Pabby, on the Outer Hebrides.
yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, because it was all connected. This was all
yeah,
part of the same thing.
yeah,
So yeah, it was a magic trip. We did repeated a bunch of cool routes. I did a route that I thought was a new route, a first ascent, and ended up not being a first ascent. I think we might have done like I think we might have done like a different end pitch, which was fun. But we climbed the entire thing as if we were new routing, so we had the experience of new routing without actually getting the new route.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Which in some ways I actually think is just as good because you know that's just you don't have to be the first, but not having a guidebook to follow and going upwards thinking, yeah, what's coming up next? That was still a beautiful experience.
yeah.
And then we also got to do a new route on that island called Veyroy, still not named it actually. Have to come up with a name.
Cool. That's always, I guess, the fun part, eh? Coming up with a name.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is always. I always like naming routes that are somehow connected to the experience or the time I'm in at the moment. I
Yeah,
think that's really nice. And I also like having names where people people will who are going to repeat it will reflect on it and wonder what on earth was that person thinking or why is it called that?
yeah,
I did a route in Australia and I've always wondered what the first ascensionist was on when they were when they did it. They call it the route's called Evil Wears No Pants. And I would just say that's a great name, and I don't know what the hell it means, but
yeah,
I would like to know.
yeah. What was he on or she on?
Yeah, but that's it. I think it was a guy actually. That was I think it was a guy, Antoine, who did the first ascent. I need to
When was
ask
it
him.
climbed? I think if you've got a time, then I guess it'll reflect what people might have been on for the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I did a route on the same crag, a first ascent. It's on rhyolite rock, which
Yeah,
we get in the UK, but there it's formed in these sorts of hexagonal columns, and it's a
yeah,
cave. So it kind of sticks out. These got hexagonal blobs everywhere, and they look like scales. And it was in Australia, and I visiting Scott called it Hagosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
as it's kind of like a dinosaur scales, but with a Scottish twist, haggis.
Yeah. I guess you get a lot of those columns in Ireland.
Yeah, you've got like yeah, so you obviously Giant's Causeway. I don't really know if that's rhyolite. I think that's because rhyolite is you get North Wales rhyolite, isn't
Yeah, it's
it?
volcanic, isn't it? So I can never
Yeah,
remember. You've got rhyolite and dolerite, and both
lots
volcanic,
of
and what one cooled in the air, exposed to air, and the other one cooled underground. So a
right.
much
Okay,
slower process.
yeah. So I mean, lots of dolerite in Ireland, definitely, and lots of dolerite on the west coast of Scotland. Um, like dolerite in Skye.
Yeah,
I've climbed kind of column-esque structures on Skye, and also in like Fairhead. I was there at Fairhead
yeah,
recently as well. That was kind of like that too.
yeah. Cool. Cool. A few more questions. Here we go. Um, have you ever been in climbing, any of your climbing experiences? Have you ever been like super scared for, I guess, for your life? Have you ever been, has fear been so intense that you kind of like, yeah, I've got to focus here. I can't fall. Like, I can't afford to not fall.
I mean, I've definitely been in loads of situations where I can't fall, but I don't think I've ever allowed myself to get into a situation where I was scared for my life.
Yeah.
I think like, yeah, if I was scared for my life, then that would be a situation where I can't fall, and I think the chances of me falling off are extremely high. And I've just never been in that situation. I
Okay.
mean, because anything where I've been in a situation where I can't fall, I'm in a controlled state of mind.
Yeah.
I understand. I've put myself in that situation um, knowingly,
Yeah.
and I feel committed, and I feel not comfortable, but I feel in control of the situation.
Yeah.
I know that that story of calf on what's it called again? The
Yeah.
E7, E8 thing. Yeah, Masters Wall.
Yeah.
Um, I've never been in a situation like that.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah. I
never.
mean, that sounds intense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was really pushing the envelope on extremely bold climbing.
Yeah.
I've never been in a situation like that. Um, but yeah, no, I've been in plenty of situations where I definitely couldn't fall off. Um, I mean, I feel like I've got quite a very structured and pragmatic approach to bold trad when on sighting. I build up slowly, like an E7 I on sighted recently, which was very bold. Um, it was in Ireland actually, and I traversed out right. So I've got a wee nest of gear, and then you're basically facing like a sort of yeah, fucking decent run out, 7 meters or something, 8 meters, but like you diagonally out from the gear and then straight up sort of 7 meters.
Yeah.
Like serious fall if you're gonna fall there. First day I went for it actually, and the wind was too much, and I ended up backing off it.
Yeah.
Coming back the day after, just because it was too much wind. Came back the day after and went back, went out, traversed out, got the gear, traversed out to the point where you start going up, and again took my time, kind of climbed up, felt the holds, realized I wasn't ready to commit, down climbed, came back. And it's funny, when I down climbed and came back, I was kind of reserving for maybe myself not to do the route. And then when I got back, I'd kind of warmed up a little bit. Or no, actually, I'd cooled down a little bit. I was too warm actually. That's what I took my jacket off. I actually looked back out and saw the line of chalk. And often actually, if you've kind of gone out on an on-site, you've taken your time, you've had to figure things out, and you've left a little chalk trail, and then you kind of come back when you've had a wee rest at the belay, it can't, or the ground, it can settle you. You kind of return to sort of like a neutral stage. And I remember looking back out and just being like, oh, it doesn't look that scary anymore.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, there's chalk leading the way.
Yeah. So
And
somebody's
I kind of
climbed it before me.
somebody's climbed it. I mean, it's obviously not that bad, even though it was me that made the chalk, and it was me that was shitting myself only like 20 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of just kind of looked up and I saw where the next peg was, which was really high up. For some reason, I just looked a bit closer and I could see where the chalk ended and where the peg was. I was like, I'm not that far away from it. I climbed out much quicker the second time round, of course.
Yeah.
Got to that point and was like, yeah, you're in a better headspace now. Just commit. Just committed.
Yeah.
And I got up there. I got up the route, and that was one of my E7 on sites in Fairhead. So and that was a banger. It was really good climbing, really bold, really engaging, and I think that my approach to it was very was good.
Yeah. Very
It's how I
stage
like to
right?
approach. Yeah, it's how I like to approach these things. Um, you know, I'm definitely interested in. I said earlier, like I tend to lean towards hard, um, relatively safe routes. Like that sort of
Yeah.
medium safe to super safe. Um, but I actually am not. I'm interested in bold climbing, and I'm interested in on-setting bold climbing too. Just in my at my pace.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm not. I'm not here to take unnecessary risks.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more collected. And listening to Calf talking about his soloing really kind of inspired me because I saw that as good training. Good head training. You
Yeah.
know, and he's right. I've done a lot of that sort of stuff as well. Um, in order to build up the confidence. On-siting more trad again built up more confidence to on-site harder trad. It's not there's no shortcuts to doing that sort of thing.
Yeah. I guess it's building up the confidence in your physical ability, but also ability to be able to get into a clear mindset where you feel that you can control um, up to a point, you can control your head game and
Mhm.
kind of stay in a calm state because
Yeah, no, exactly.
calm's your friend in those situations.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say I've ever been in a situation where I feel like my life's been threatened and I've been like really absolutely terrified and I feel like I'm gonna fall off. But I've definitely been scared, like I've been scared loads.
Yeah,
And I did find that with especially with on-site trad, yeah, the more I did it, the more comfortable I got in pretty bold scenarios.
yeah,
Um, yeah, one really nice experience actually was with a climber, Sam, who I hadn't climbed with before this last year, and we had a kind of couple of weeks where we climbed together pretty often, and we went together. He's a really good climber. He's from the peak, and he's climbed like sort of E9 and on site lots of E6s. And we went up together to try this E7 on site up on a crag called Quinag, I think it is, in the northwest of Scotland. And and yeah, he did the first pitch. Second pitch is the E7 pitch, and it took me absolutely ages to get up it. It's probably the longest I've ever been on a route, and I felt really bad. But it was just so bold. There were sections of really bold climbing,
yeah.
and it took a lot from me to kind of slowly build up it. But eventually, I did. And one of the I felt when I got to the top and I put him on Beely and I was like, oh thank God I got up that. God, I hope he's not too upset with me, you know.
Yeah.
And he got up and he came over the top and he just went, mate, he was like, no wonder you took so long. He was like, he was like, that wasn't. It was like that was bloody desperate. And holy crap, it was bloody too. And he was like, I don't think I've ever struggled so much in a second. And I was like, oh, you think so? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, great.
Yeah,
Feel
yeah,
vindicated in that. I was like, oh, thank fuck for that. It's like I thought you were gonna be really angry with me. And he was like, no, that was really cool. I was like,
yeah.
oh,
But I guess
great.
that's part of an acceptance, isn't it? When you go into a climbing relationship like that, you accept that your mate might take a lot longer.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
exactly. I've definitely been at the other end of like a 3 hour relay.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely.
And sometimes you're kind of hanging there, holding the rope, going, "Oh, come on, just bloody hurry up, right?" And then, like you say, when your mate gets on it, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's why they took so long. Yeah,
Yeah. Occasionally, like when they look a bit more comfortable, like shouting up the sort of like code words. You all right up there? How's it going?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, hurry the fuck up.
yeah, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's funny. Yeah, yeah, and do you do any winter climbing?
I mean, like I have done winter climbing. It's not my thing. In
Yeah.
Scotland, I always feel a little bit like everyone expects you to go winter climbing.
Do they?
Like yeah, yeah. Like there's just loads of trad climbers also winter climb.
Yeah, okay.
And it's a big scene of winter climbing. And of course, whenever I chat to like sort of other climbers, they're always like, oh, you know, you're doing winter this year. Like it seems to be just commonly crops
Right,
up.
okay.
And every year, I'm just like, I went through a period. I think it was a couple of years where I went out winter climbing, had some good experiences.
Yeah,
I was always like, at the end of that season, I was always like, I just didn't feel quite as ready for the spring
yeah,
because winter had kind of taken me away from training
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
bouldering or doing other things I want to do.
yeah,
And I've come to the conclusion I'm a rock climber.
yeah,
You know, like rock climbing is what I love,
yeah,
and I'm sure at some point I'll dip back into winter, but it's not the thing that really gets me going. I
yeah,
just I just love
yeah.
rock climbing. Yeah,
It's an acquired taste, and
yeah.
it's just like suffering, really.
Yeah, yeah. One of my claims to fame with winter climbing is Greg Boswell, who's a good friend of mine. We kind of grew up climbing together. He's one of the best winter climbers in the world. He asked me to come out and beelie him and second him on Anubis, which is a grade 12-12,
Yeah.
and I seconded him on it, and I got up it. I didn't do it clean, but I got up it. And hilariously, afterwards, Climber Magazine interviewed Greg, but they also contacted me and asked me what it was like to second it. And I was like, I must be like the first person in history who's ever been interviewed on top roping or winter climb. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, it was really hard, but
yeah,
thank God I wasn't leading it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's nice, isn't it? I know. I think when you're climbing as a two, you climb a pitch, you deal with stress, you deal with getting scared. You get to the top of the pitch, and then your mate comes up, and then you're like, "Well, I've done my bit. You'll go. Off you go."
Yeah,
It's quite nice
yeah,
to share that stress.
yeah. My friend told me a funny story the other day there. He said he went out climbing with his mate, and there was this really hard pitch that they were about to do, and it was his mate's lead. He says really bad weather. There was like spin drift. It was like the wind was like howling through them. He said they had their hoods up, and
Yeah.
his mate just started climbing. He said he got a bit higher, got a bit higher, it would be like a few meters above, and then all of a sudden the rope started flying through the Billy device, and mate Ryan was like, "Yeah," he just started like charging up the wall, like the rope was flying through it. He was just like, "I was like, yeah, come on, mate, come on." He was questing up this wall. He said he must have put out 20 meters of rope, and then all of a sudden the spin drift kind of disappeared. He looked up, and his friend was like 2 meters above his head, and the wind had been pulling the rope out. He just given out about 20 meters of slack. His friend was just
Oh,
holding on for dear life.
brilliant. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
I was like, oh
Uh,
my God, he's like pulling the slack in.
yeah, yeah. Thinking he's an absolute legend.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, get us to the top. Got us nowhere.
Yeah, oh, that's funny. Yeah. So, what's been the most emotionally rewarding like send for you
um,
to date?
yeah, it's really hard. I mean, yeah, I mean, like obviously the Long Hope was absolutely incredible. Doing that route on St Kilda with Will Burkett, again, another amazing one. I mean, formative experiences like doing Bella Vista in the Dolomites. That was like where I discovered I how much adventure climbing would come into my life. I was like, that was the start of it all. I was like, I guess, like we went and did this big epic 8D plus multi-pitch in on a big chossy Dolomite cliff on Cima Oves, one of the Tre Cime de Lavaredo.
Yeah.
Great big sort of like 500-600 meter north faces. And I remember we got benighted on a meter and a half ledge after having done the crux. And I mean, the crux pitch took so much for me to do. It's entirely protected by rusty pegs that have been there for 20 odd years. And I took a fall and the pegs ripped out and spinning in space. And at the time I was only 24. I was like had only been a sport climber up until that point, and I was really struggling to get my head in gear. And I managed to kind of like come to terms with it by having a bizarre conversation with myself where I said, "How much do you want this, Robbie?" And the reply was, "More than life itself." And so, you know what I mean? As a sort of 20 something, that's sort of conversations you have with yourself. You
Yeah.
seem to be able to like push out. You can ignore. You seem to be able to ignore the danger of a situation, even though it wasn't that dangerous. But you think you're in a dangerous situation, you can push it out because you kind of ignore it, I don't know what it is about being that age, but like you can just kind of sometimes just ignore it. And I able to get up the crux pitch. I got benighted on a meter and a half ledge. We got hammered by rain all night. I was a big spoon. Logan was little spoon because he's only 5 foot, and
Yeah.
we just like huddled each other until like the early morning, and then basically just climbed out in the miserable wet like Dolomite rock, eventually walking down off the mountain in total silence, eventually arriving at the little refugio where we sat down in our wet gear, ordered some food, and just sat there just like shell shocked. Eventually the food came, we took a bite, had a cup of tea, and then I just looked at Logan and said, "That was fucking awesome." And Logan just replied,
Yeah.
Logan replied, "Yeah, it was fucking something," you
Yeah.
know. And but I mean, that was like the start. That was like when I realized, this was something I really wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
So that was a really formative moment. So for me, that was a very special one. But I will say this. I did the Great Arch last year. That's on Pabby, an island in the Outer Hebrides. It's about 6 pitches, but you can't. I mean, 6 pitches doesn't sound very much, but it's 6 pitches on a big, sea cliff. Each pitch is full value, and it all culminates in a horizontal roof. Um, Actually, I practiced the last 5 meters of the climb, this roof,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the whole pitch. There was actually harder climbing just below it.
Yeah.
And so I went climbing there with it was first attempted by Cubby and Lynn Hill in 1994, or 1996 was it? Shortly after Lynn had done the nose, like 2 years
Yeah.
after. So she was in the peak of her climbing. Cubby and Lynn tried this thing. They basically freed it all the way up to the roof, but didn't manage to free the roof. And so I'd always wanted to go to the Great Arch and try it. It'd always been in my kind of like it's something I wanted to do, and I ended up organizing this trip, and Cubby ended up coming out with us. I invited Cubby out on the trip, and he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "I'll come out." So we had Cubby there with us, which was absolutely amazing. 'Cause he's such a wonderful person, and he watched us try it, And so when we went for our attempt, and I remember we arrived at the final riff, the sun setting, not much light left.
Yeah.
And again, another situation like the Long Hope one, I've got this one go really to do this, and that's it. And ended up having a bit of a struggle on the lower crux, falling off it, thinking I can't actually, it's actually impossible. I can't actually do this move.
Yeah.
And it was also wet on these undercuts as well. So I ended up just like chopped. Like it was luckily that wee section, the first crux, was only like 10 meters above the belay. So I quickly chalked up everything, like brushed everything I could, came back down to the belay, and then I was about to go, and then I started climbing like a few meters up, and then my climbing partner Jamie, Robbie, something's happened. I turned around, and the rope had fallen off his legs, and it tangled in a mess below. I was like, oh fucking hell! So I just abseiled down. I abseiled back. The rope had got entangled. It got caught around rocks. The sun was setting. Everything was like going to shit.
Yeah.
I went down. I grabbed the rope. I managed to flick it off. Luckily, I managed to flick it off a spike that had gotten jammed on. Got back up to the belay, sorted the rope out, and literally the sun was like dipping just just dipping beyond the horizon. It was like visibly getting dark.
Yeah.
I started climbing, and I knew this was like the last absolute possible chance I was going to do this. Got to the first crux and screamed my way through it, arriving at the base of the roof. I kind of looked out into the roof. I plugged a cam in. I looked out into the roof, and there's this big hollow flake that you have to reach out to. You know that when you reach out to that flake and you commit, you're not coming back to the safety of the back of the roof. You're out in the roof. That's it. I grabbed the flake flexed, and I just campused out into this roof, throwing my heel up into the back of the flake and camming it. And as I cammed it, I could feel the flex of the flake and a little chip of rock break away and fall 100 meters into the sea below. And I was in the middle of this roof, looking out at the sort of chopped holes, the section that I'd practiced. It's basically like a V8 boulder problem, like probably font 7B plus boulder problem, but one that you've got to do after having a huge day on a big sea cliff, 100 meters above the waves,
Yeah.
um, completely traditional gear, and traditional climbing, and and hard. This wasn't something I could just do very easily. It took me 2 days to figure out how to do it sitting on a static rope, and I'd only actually managed to climb it a couple of times whilst I'd been fresh.
Yeah.
And now I was exhausted. My forearms were burning. I was tired. My skin was trashed. I was sweating, and I remember feeling just like totally and utterly spent. And I hung there in that roof with camming that heel in the flake, just trying to relieve as much weight from my forearms as possible. And I just remember thinking to myself, just just give it everything. Just don't think about anything else. Just commit. Just leave nothing on the wall. Again, just try your hardest. And when I started to climb, similar to like as it was in the long hope, it all clicked into place. I grabbed each hold. Um, I barely remember it. I reached out onto there was a crux sequence reaching out onto the lip, and then a heel placement that was imperative. And previously, when I'd placed that heel, a handful of times my heel had ripped off and I'd flown off the wall. I placed the heel, I was ready to commit, and then the heel ripped off. I took this horrendous swing, held on to these slopers, threw the heel instantly back on, and just screamed and grabbed the next crimp, and then screamed again and grabbed the next jug, and
Yeah.
then did like a very, very like ugly rock over onto the lip of the roof, over the lip of the roof, and grabbed a big jug, and just like completely lost it. And that was it. I was like, we were going to the top, but just when you say I pulled it in some sense completely out of my arse, and I guess it's honestly it's those experiences that I really love. I
Yeah.
love I love it when like everything kind of like everything feels like it's kind of falling away, and you just got to stay true and give it all to the climb.
Yeah.
And when it all goes well and you top out, nothing beats that.
Yeah.
It's just the best.
Yeah. But I guess when you've put your static line down and you've practiced the moves, I guess there's that element of safety and that element of get out clause because you can just sit back and then you're sat on the static. I guess when you're leading, you don't have that comfort there to just be able to sit on the rope. So I guess the intensity is much deeper and you'll feel like you want to try harder.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's also quite funny. Like, I remember, when I was in the roof, I was very aware. Like, the gear at the back of the roof, it's a big cam in a big crack. Worst case scenario is you take a fall in the roof, you'll take the biggest fall of your life,
Yeah.
but you're 100 meters above the sea, so it's all fine. And it's amazing when you're in the zone going for something like this, you don't think about anything else. Like falling does not matter, gear
Yeah,
does not matter. Like you are like immersed in the moment,
yeah,
and the only thing that matters is you moving on that rock and
yeah,
just moving one move at a time, taking one move at a time.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I have had, I will say I've had so many experiences that are very similar to that one, you know, and that's why it's hard to like pinpoint like, you know, which one means more. They're all, I feel like they're all stepping stones on a journey, you
yeah,
know, in climbing.
yeah,
And that's one of the wonderful things about climbing is you can keep doing it. My friend Alan Carn, you know, he's been climbing since he was 14. He's now 65. He's in South Africa right now with his partner on a trip there, sport climbing and having a great time. When he was 60, me and him went to Madagascar and we did a big wall first ascent together. And he's still doing those sorts of trips. And
yeah.
I'm like, I'm 35. I was 35 this February. I'm like, God, I've got another 30 years at least of this.
Yeah,
This is great.
yeah,
Like, I just love that. You know, like in some ways, I feel really bad when when I see other sports where they seem to have this sort of like almost this cutoff period where suddenly people who do things at a relatively high level, you know, like oh, they just stop doing it, and
yeah,
like it's time for the next stage of life, you know, where we're not going to do that sport anymore, and we're gonna just settle down and be normal.
yeah.
And I get asked all the time by people who aren't climbers, obviously like family or whatever. They go, "Oh, so what are you going to do when you retire from climbing?" What do you mean? What 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 does that
Yeah,
even mean? Retire from climbing? That's
yeah,
never going to happen. I'm going to
yeah,
climb until I die, even if I
yeah,
die doing it. You know, it's like
yeah,
I hope
yeah.
that doesn't happen, but like you know, I mean, it's
I
just
know exactly what you mean.
yeah,
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 I, th
magic.
yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, hopefully climb still wherever my level takes me. I still want to climb at 80.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. We hear about those the Blizzards, isn't it? The French Blizzards who are wandering around Fontainebleau, 80 odd year old, 90 or whatever, with their
yeah.
little bit of tea towel. You know, there was not one that he's 80 who climbed Font 80 or something like that.
Oh,
Mental.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely
Just
insane.
goes
Like,
to
yeah,
show that just goes to show
yeah.
that like age can be just a figment of our imagination, right? To stop us from doing
Hmm.
what we want to do.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
obviously injuries, but
Yeah, you know, and like I'm 35 and I definitely notice the difference uh, being in my 30s compared to being in my 20s. 100%. Recovery is different.
yeah,
I am lucky, touch wood, injuries tend to not be too prevalent with my climbing.
yeah,
Um, but you know, I'm sure like as you get older, injuries become more likely. Uh, but you know, climbing's such a wonderful sport, and there's so many paths you can take, and so many different ways you can go that you can kind of, unless something's really seriously wrong, you can generally always find a way of going climbing and doing things, you know, and being challenged. As I said with my TFCC, you know, that all it meant was I couldn't train on an overhanging board. I couldn't, you know, I couldn't pull really, really hard, but I could still challenge myself on the slabs of Northumberland. I was still enjoying myself. I was still having a great time.
yeah,
You know, arguably I was having as good a time as I'm having right now. You know, feeling completely, you know, fine and injury free.
yeah,
It was just different. You know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's finding ways around it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Two more questions, and I'll let you go. Uh,
Wow. This is a long podcast.
yeah, I know. Yeah, but I think you're a great storyteller, right? I'm asking you questions, and you just like you just start talking. It's
All
great.
right. Cool. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's my fault.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hope your listeners are okay with this.
yeah. Of course they are. Yeah, they might have to pause halfway at something.
Yeah.
So what do you think are or is your mental strength in climbing? I can guess, but I'll let you say.
Well, I think my mental strength in climbing 100% is trying hard.
Yeah,
I think that's it. It's always been that to a certain extent. Obviously, when I was younger, I struggled with that sort of like as I said earlier, pressure. But I got over that pretty swiftly when I remember, always remember like having that experience where in a competition, I got to a point on the wall and just gave up because I felt the pressure so much. I
Yeah.
didn't want to. I wanted to control my failure in a sense. And I remember as soon as I let go, being so disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you do that? And that was the catalyst, the moment that led to this sort of frame of mind where I was like, I never want to feel like I've not tried my best.
Yeah.
And and ever since then, I never have. I've
Yeah.
always left everything on the wall. I've you know, you said earlier, like a lot of the pros or the good climbers or whatever, they're good at they're good at trying hard. I would say yes and no. I would say like everyone, I mean, they all obviously try hard, but there's a range,
Yeah.
and there's definitely people that try harder. And I've seen very, very good climbers, like professional climbers, um, who I'm like, they obviously didn't try, quite as hard as they could. I
Yeah.
mean, guys, I mean, I've watched Alex Waterhouse climb, and I'm like, that boy tries hard.
Yeah.
Alex tries hard. He tried so hard on the fingerboard the other day there, he passed out trying. Like he literally, it's a video of him on Instagram, literally passing out. He like faints. I'm like, because he knows, Um, like, I know that, um, I'm not the strongest. Yeah, I'm definitely more of an endurance athlete. I think that I am very fit generally.
Yeah.
My form endurance is really good. Um, but I know that if I didn't have that wee spark in me of being able just to try really hard, I would not have gotten up like 80% of the things I've gotten up because I feel like often when I do send, it's right at the very like when I send the hard things I've achieved, they've been right at the very brink. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Bella Vista, Long Hope, the Great Arch, all those three things, I was like at the end of. I felt like I was exploding. Like even like kind of not even at the end of the route, and I was still able to kind of like piece it together, keep
Yeah.
pulling, keep trying.
Yeah.
And so that element of my climbing is has been really really good for performing.
Yeah. And what tip would you give someone to be able to try and get into that headspace?
Yeah, I mean it's a hard one, isn't it? Um, I think I guess it's just reflecting a lot on your own performances.
Yeah.
Yeah, asking yourself, did I actually try?
Yeah.
You know, what was going on in your head? When you were leading up to the hard section. What was going on in your head when you were doing the hard section?
Yeah.
Did you really leave everything on the wall, or could you have squeezed a little bit more out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, one tool I have used. So I guess I think if you look at like my development as a climber, I can actually pinpoint certain things I've done over the years that have actually like led me into who I am today as a climber.
Yeah.
And looking at early, in my early days as a young climber, joining the competition squad at Ratho in Edinburgh. Rattle is a phenomenal facility for route climbers because it's the biggest route wall in the UK. I mean, maybe the Big Dip in Manchester is equal or something now, but for a long time it has been. We've got walls that are 30 meters high,
Yeah.
and my training for a lot of that period was doing laps on those walls, just doing endurance laps.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I would climb an 8B, come down, go up another 8B, come down, go up another 8A plus, come down, finish on an 8A, doing sets of four on that sort of grade of routes where I actually knew the routes, like I'd practiced them already and knew what they're about. But when I'd come off the first 8B or even an 8B plus, I remember I used to do it on like comp routes. What I'd do is I'd go on a comp route, I'd spike my pump levels so that I would be like really tired and I'd jump straight on another route, a route that I knew I could probably do if I really tried, but
Yeah.
I'd have to try.
Yeah.
And I'd be getting onto an 8B boxed out my nut, you know? knowing that actually I have to get to the first 10 meters, but there's a rest there on a little crimp that if I get my foot there, I can kind of just get enough back,
Yeah.
maybe like 10% back. And I
Yeah.
know that if I get 10% back there, I can get to the next 10 moves.
Yeah.
And I get to that next rest, and I know that actually that rest with the wee knee scum there gets me maybe 20% back.
Yeah.
And then maybe if I do that, then I can get to the next section. And you realize you're able to start these routes pumped and still get to the top of them.
Yeah.
And that actually completely redefines your kind of what you think's possible. Yeah. So suddenly you're like, actually, I can climb when I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I can climb when I'm totally broken, and I
Yeah.
can still achieve what I want.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say like in actually maybe doing sometimes doing laps on routes that can actually be like a good training tool for your mind, you know.
Yeah.
You can even do it on boulder problems. You know, you can like do sets of boulder problems like on where you're like you maybe have like a I don't know like a V8 boulder problem or something. And you work it and work it and work it, get it right, and you try and do 3 laps on it.
Yeah.
And at the beginning you're like, oh, I could no way do 3 laps in it. Then like after a few sessions you're like, holy shit, I did 3 laps in it. Can I do 5 laps on it? You
Yeah.
know, and it's just like a little training tool, and it's also physical training as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess it's being, like you're saying, is being completely boxed. So climbing something that's around maybe your on-site grade, where you're completely boxed, and when you're tired, you're you're having to try harder, but also you'll focus more on better technique and try and relieve, like you say, try and relieve through body position to try and relieve some pressure off something to regain some energy in somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that what I'm talking about there is something that I've used for physical training. It had like a mental aspect to it, which has really helped me, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I would say if people are struggling with that mental side of being able to try hard, this is something that they can use. Equally, I know I am very good at this now.
Yeah.
So actually doing lots of that doesn't help me, you know?
Yeah.
Like I am like I am someone who off the couch is on citing 80, most times.
Yeah.
So even when I'm not fit, I can somehow get myself up those routes.
Yeah.
So I don't need to do more of that. What actually I need to do more of is like the things I struggle with. Again, I like the bouldering, the strength aspects, and also that really short-term power endurance. Recently, I went training on a friend of mine built a circuit on a kilter board, and it was maybe like he said it was maybe font 7C boulder, but actually it was like 20 moves long, so it was probably more like a sort of 8A, but it was like really, really resistant. 50 degrees overhanging, no jugs on it, pulling on like crimps and having to do a hard down climb as well. And
Yeah.
I don't train on a kilter board that much. I don't particularly like the kilter boards, but what I found is for that power endurance that I'm really poor at, where there's no rest, it's like just one hard move after another, and I can't get a cheeky knee scum. I can't get a cheeky sit on my heel and shake out because that's what
Yeah.
I'm good at. This is that resistance.
Yeah.
So that's something that I need to work on. So I guess it's like, again from my own personal progression and for anyone else's progression, it's identifying what you're actually weak at,
Yeah.
and trying to train that. And if that helps your climbing.
Yeah. So what's the one mental skill that you feel that you need to work on,
I don't know. I'm not.
if there is any?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I This is gonna sound really arrogant. I'm pretty
Well, it's
decent.
not about arrogant. I guess it's knowing yourself, right?
Yeah, I've got a good head. It's one of my strengths.
Cool.
Um, I think with on-site trad there was a gap in my climbing repertoire
Yeah.
that I felt like last not last year, but maybe well sort of like early last year. I felt there was a gap following from that St Kilda trip, and I really wanted to kind of like work on it.
Yeah.
I worked on it, and I felt like, yeah, I made some huge gains. one thing I'd like to do, one of my goals, probably over the next year or so, is to on-site E8.
Yeah.
That's it's not. I'm not. It sounds. I'm not very grade orientated. Often I'm very route orientated.
Yeah.
Um, as I like doing the cool routes,
Yeah.
but I definitely want to improve and be a better climber. And I'd like to try and on-site an E8 that's hard and relatively safe.
Yeah.
Um, I've got a few kind of like earmarked, and I think it would make me feel like I've kind of come a long way with my on-site trad.
Yeah.
Um, I think with E7 this year. I feel like I've on-sited a lot. I think I've on-sited like 7 or 8 E7s.
Yeah.
I got to I mean I was at 7 or 8 E7s, but equally it was gonna be maybe like 7 or 8 that I actually fell off. You know, at the top of the crag.
Yeah.
So, with those routes, again, I kind of almost count them as on-sighting,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
because I almost did it. I mean, like if I was a bit luckier, maybe did something slightly different,
Yeah.
and I always learned from every route, I would have on-sighted them.
Yeah.
So actually, I've done pretty well. So yeah, I feel like I really kind of overcame uh, maybe one of the big gaps in my sort of mental repertoire. And saying that, I'm sure there'll be something that'll crop up. I can't come
Yeah.
up and can't think of it right now.
Yeah.
Um, but I could definitely do a stronger fingers. That'd be quite nice.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of watching videos of Buster Martin on his moon board,
Yeah.
like just like absolutely smashing like 8A and 8B boulder problems.
Yeah.
And I just I wish I had that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those great things, isn't it? It's like the things that you tend to be things that you tend to like doing the most are the things that you tend to get good at. For a long time, I have really enjoyed doing long endurance routes, so
Yeah.
I tend to get good at that. And with bouldering, when I do get strong bouldering, I always tend to fall into the same trap of just like doing lots of it because I just really enjoy climbing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and it ends up not becoming strength anymore, and it starts becoming endurance.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
I
how
guess,
many
I
hard
guess,
boulder problems can you do?
I guess the one thing that I've noticed is that I guess over the years, you've built up um, big understanding of yourself. So you've built up this big self-awareness thing. So you reflect back upon your performances and you realize certain things that you might have a weakness or certain things you want to improve on and kind of find ways to get better at those. And
Yeah,
I
did you
think
know, honest?
that's a skill, isn't it? And I think we talked about ego earlier, and I guess you need to be able to put your ego aside in those situations and kind of go, well, let's look at myself objectively and how did I perform, and what things can I get better at?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I will say this. I do think that pretty much any good climber is very good at that. That's why they're good, you know? Like they're good at identifying weaknesses, training on them, working on them. That's how they get better. I
Yeah,
always really like Dave McLeod has spoken in the past about being curious, and now ever since I heard him say it, I say it now too because it's a wonderful way to approach climbing.
yeah,
It's being curious about things like if it's a boulder problem you're working on, not focusing solely on the end result, but just trying to be curious about like the sequence and the movement, how to make things more efficient and better. And again, that's something that I've always tried to do is, yeah, climb better, not climb stronger
yeah,
necessarily.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
And it's all in the detail.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I was
Yeah,
going to say something else there, but I forgot what it was. Never mind. Must have been a
right.
lie.
It's all right. You did a lot of talking, Robbie.
That's another specialty I have.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's cool, man. Yeah, yeah. I think you love a chat and you love history, and you're, I guess, watching your videos are quite a deep thinker. You think about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets a bit messy up there though.
In your head.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
it's all of us are like it, isn't it? We all have this little voice in our head, and sometimes it's not very useful.
yeah, as in like I am a deep thinker, but I think about a lot of things and I lose track. My girlfriend, and this is a classic thing that everyone's saying at the moment, but my girlfriend says that and she has very well, you're 100% ADHD. You've a hundred,
Okay.
like there's no question about it, Rob. You've got ADHD, and I'm like, are you sure? And she's like showing me all these things, like, yes, look, this is you, this is you, this is you, this is you. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Well, at least we can put a label on it then.
Yeah, well, it's your superpower then, isn't it? One of your
Yeah,
superpowers. Yeah.
but
Cool.
yeah, I guess like the I guess like what I do find is I am a deep thinker, but I get sometimes I get very distracted by lots of things, like
Yeah.
thinking about lots of things. But it's a nice I think at the end of the day I find it's the nice distractions. You know, I'm just interested in general.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
It
nice
comes
being
across in your
interested.
videos.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you've enjoyed it. I mean, ultimately, that's what I really want from those videos is for people to enjoy them and to feel like, you know, I don't, in some sense, like aspirational or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep making them. Keep watching.
Yeah, I will do. Well, that's what I'm doing today. I'm editing the Paddy film from last year.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. That's never ending job, right? So you're as well as climbing, you're learning how to edit videos and create good content.
Well, yeah, yeah. I do enjoy editing. It's good fun. It's creative, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Cool, man. Yeah, Robbie, thanks for your time. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
problem.
I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast with Robbie Phillips. This was the second part of a two-part interview. As already mentioned, the interview went on a lot longer than anticipated. It was really nice to have a chat with him. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any suggested topics that you'd like us to talk about or anyone you'd like us to interview, please send in your requests, email them to us or send us a message on social media, and we'll catch you guys soon.